Hey there, my name's Ryan. In this video, we're going to review the board game Treeblox. Now, Treeblox is a two-player only strategy game where you're actually going to be building a 3D forest with your trees and leaves, trying to basically end the game with the most of your leaves showing from the top down, so they get the most sunlight. If you've never played before, we're going to start the video out with just a short overview of the rules so you can see how it works. If you already know how to play, of course, feel free to use the chapters below and skip ahead to the review. So we start here with the board just in the center of all the players, and then one player takes all of the white and light green cubes. There's actually 16 of each color. Another player takes all the 16 black and the 16 dark green. The white represents this player's branches and the green their leaves. The black represents this player's branches and the dark green their leaves. I'm going to go ahead and show you the first turn. So the first turn of the game, each player must place a leaf. That's because if you ever start a turn and none of your leaves are visible from the top down, you immediately lose the game. So on your first turn, dark always goes first. You must place one leaf. So now players will take turns placing cubes. They may place either a leaf or a branch. Available places to place a cube would be any of the open holes in the board. So the dark player could place a cube there. The light player could place a cube there. Now let's say the dark player chooses to place a branch, and they place a branch right here. The light player chooses to place another leaf right here. Now the dark player's next turn, something is different. When they may place a leaf or a branch in any spot, but now a branch is also available hole. So you could take this dark green leaf and put it here. You could also place a branch on top of the branch. Quick note, you may not ever place a leaf on a leaf. So only branches can then grow to another branch or leaf. So let's say the dark player does another branch right here. Now it's the light player's turn. The light player has 3 leaves showing if you were to look from the top down, meaning the sun is hitting 3 different leaves. If you ever have 3 different leaves hit by the sun, you may actually choose to place 2 blocks if you want to. So on white's turn, let's say he chooses to do this. Place a tree branch there and then a leaf here. Another important note, you can go outside the playing board if you are attached to another branch. You can't place clearly on this, but you may build outside if you are attached to something. Now on black's turn, he's going to place a branch on this branch here. On the light color's turn, he's going to place 2 trees here. Now black is still only placing 1 cube because he only has 2 leaves showing. Black places another leaf here. Now on light's turn, light's going to place a leaf right here. So now if you were to look at the board from the top down, dark did place its 3rd leaf. But from the top down, this leaf is now covered by that one. So actually they still only have 2 leaves showing, may only place 1 on their turn. So let's say he places 1 right here. We'll do a couple more turns here. Let's say white goes up 2 higher because they don't know what they're doing. Now black can place 2. I'm going to rotate the board here. Black could actually place a leaf here and a leaf here on their turn. Now they're close. They haven't done it yet, but light only has 3 leaves showing. If black could ever cover one of these leaves and knock them down to 2, light would only be able to place 1 on their turn again. So as a quick recap, every single turn you look from the top down, see how many leaves are showing. If you have 3 or more, you may place 0, 1, or 2 cubes. If you only have 2 leaves showing, let's say this was not here, with only 2 leaves showing, then you may only place 0 or 1 leaf. If you ever have no leaves showing, the game is immediately over. And before we get into how the game ends, one more quick reminder, you may place a leaf in an available hole or also on a branch. You never place a leaf on a leaf. Same thing with branches. You can place branches on branches, open holes, but you may never place a branch on a leaf or anything on an opponent. You never place it on an opponent's pieces, ever. Okay, now for endgame. There are 3 ways the game can end. One would be a color has no available leaves. So one tree, let's say the light tree, had all of its cubes covered. This cube wasn't here. Dark was able to build out here, build here. If light really wasn't paying attention and dark places the last cube right here, this would completely cover from the top down all of the light's branches. So dark has completely covered light. The game would then be over. Another way for the game to end is if both players pass back to back. So if light was to pass here and dark passed, the game would be over. The 3rd way for the game to end is actually really interesting. If one player has used up all their cubes, when they place their last cubes, the other player then places all the remaining cubes on the board. So let's say we get to an endgame situation and this happens, and then light chooses to play the last 2 cubes in their turn. Well, this is kind of assuming that throughout the game, the dark player has passed some. Also, maybe that they chose to place 1 cube instead of when the light chose to place 2 cubes. This would actually be a bad situation for light. When they play their last cube, the dark player may then play all their available cubes as long as there's a spot to play them in. So looking from the top down right now, light would win. You win the game by having the most of your leaves showing. So light would have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, I believe. Dark has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But then dark, for their final growth, gets to place the rest of their cubes. So they could simply grow up here. And cover the white in some way like this. You can just continue placing cubes until you had enough pieces covered to win the game. You could even place the rest of these, but at this point, black has now won the game. It makes the strategy interesting because you can't just get ahead and then rush in the game and play all your pieces. You have to take into account the fact that your opponent will then be able to place the remainder of their pieces. Alright, so that's how it works. Let's talk about some things that the game does really well. So this is in that whole line of pure strategy games. There's no luck, there's no dice rolling, there's no card laying, there's no hidden information. Everything is just out there. Just like classic games like chess, Chinese checkers, we're just trying to outsmart your opponent. There's no randomness to save you. There's no, oh, I lied and kept a secret. This is just pure strategy. So the most important thing about any of these games is, does it work? And yes, it works. The actual strategy is fun. When I first read the rules, this is what you want to do. It almost seems too simple. There's so few rules. Just place, move, put your leaves here, put your branches here, and go. See if you can beat someone at that. And when you actually do it, it's really fun. It's a very good challenge. I have to sit there and say, okay, you can do this, this, and this with your pieces. You could have a game that possibly someone puts out too many branches early on so they don't have the branches to do what they have to do later on. You could have it where they get their third leaf covered up. They only have 2 leaves showing, so their growth rate's only 1. So there's a lot of little things that can happen in this game. So yes, the overall goal of the game, it's a pure strategy game. It has to actually work, and yeah, the actual strategy of the game works. Another positive is this rulebook here. It's pretty clearly written, pretty simple to read. It has a lot of pages, but lots of those are clarifications, frequently asked questions, terminology. So if you want to really dig into it, make sure you have every single rule correct. It's there, but this is a nice little rule book. Okay, so now into some flaws about the game. We're just going to talk about component quality right now. These pieces right here hold together pretty well, but I've had an issue, especially some of the white pieces, just being really slippery, which is a pretty big issue in this game because if you're building, sometimes you have to have structures that maybe hang out this way, or you hang out this way, then you can start to move this way, and if the pieces don't hold together, if they slip or if they fall, it's not a dexterity game. It's not a game where, oh, your tree fell, you lose now. It's just a game where you're just trying to do the strategy, and that has a couple times sort of gotten in the way of the strategy, where a piece, you're trying to put a piece somewhere and just won't hold, so maybe you replace a few pieces and get a stronger one there. I've played this a handful of times, 5, 6, 7 times, so there's kind of an initial, it was really good the first time I did it, then it kind of struggled a little bit, so I would just worry long term, are the components going to hold up? So that's my only flaw with the game. This board works pretty well, the pieces are kind of hard to get out of there, but that's fine. It sort of needs to be tight to hold everything in place, but only issue of the game is, are the components going to hold up long term? Okay, so on the preferences, basically, do I like this game? When I first took this out, I just wasn't sure. So I tend to prefer games, maybe there's resource collecting, you're building buildings, you're playing cards, maybe rolling dice, you're maybe having hidden rolls, so you're trying to trick your opponents. And so pure strategy games where just everything is out there isn't necessarily my go-to. I typically have a fallback of Santorini. If I'm going to play a modern pure strategy game, I'm just going to play Santorini. So when I first took this out of the box, I'm like, okay, so does this beat Santorini? The answer is no. So I was like, well, would I ever play it? Well, after playing it a few times, I was like, okay, at least it offers me something different. And that's kind of what you're looking for sometimes as a board gamer. Not necessarily is it better, but does this do something different that games I already have don't do? And again, I wasn't sure at first. After playing it several times, the answer is pretty definitively yes. I like a couple things this game does. The rules are really simple. So I've taught people, and you play the teaching of the game in the first round, 15 minutes, and you're done. They're already pretty deep strategy pretty quickly so they can kind of understand what's going on. So this game kind of offers a quicker experience, a little simpler rules explanation. So if you don't want to just take out a classic game like chess or checkers, but you want to play with someone who's maybe not ready for a really intense board game, this is kind of a good middle ground where it offers pretty simple rule set, but also you could get pretty deep into strategy. If you once you play this game enough, you realize that the strategy is every move is basically life or death in this game. Also, the whole tree building, Minecraft or Lego feel, it's just kind of a fun thing to do in a game. Not a lot of games. There are dexterity games where I'm building a tower, I'm building this. But this game actually offers you a little bit of that experience if I'm trying to build up a tree and you're trying to move different directions, but you get it in actually a real board game, not just a stacking game. Okay, so as far as things I don't like about the game, I really don't have anything to add. I had the component quality issue listed in the flaws because that's more of the production of the game. That was a problem, things not holding together. But as far as just straight up preferences, I mean, what the game tries to do, it does well. I already mentioned that this kind of board game isn't necessarily my go-to, but I do like having a few rounds, just when you want to do a quick 10 or 15 minute round, and it does give you some depth of strategy. So really, no negatives to add in that sense. As far as recommendations go with Treeblox, I think it's a good game if you have a two-player group and you both like pure strategy games. If you're not in the board game world and you don't know it really, people call them abstracts a lot. If you're not used to that term, basically games in that classic vein of game where just everything's out there, no hidden information. You're just trying to outsmart your opponents with good moves, and whoever makes the best moves is going to win. If you like those kind of games, Othello's a good one. It's also an older one. If you like that kind of game and you play in a two-player group a lot, I think this game might be perfect for you. Like it really feels that kind of a couple or two people who tend to play games just them together a lot, and they want a short, quick experience of just let's just clash of brains who can do the best job. It really fits that void really well. Obviously, if you always play in groups of 3, 4, 5, it's not going to work for you guys because it's a two-player game only. And if someone in the group really doesn't like this kind of game, if someone's really against pure strategy games, they really want dice rolling, or they really want resource, or they want card play, it's not going to be the game for you. But in that specific niche of people who you want a pure strategy game, and especially one that works well for two players, there's also an issue sometimes where you have these games that, if you have two-player only games, are nice because you have this issue where you have games for 5 players and they tried to make them work for 2. And if you play enough two-player games that were really made for 3, 4, or 5 players, they made it work for 2. You can kind of get this feeling of, it doesn't work great. So it is nice to have a few games around that it's meant for 2, you take it out for 2 people, and everything works. There's not like, oh, there's not really enough pieces, or this mechanism doesn't work. It just works well with 2 players. Again, also just keep in mind the component issue. If it's something that's going to bother you long term, the pieces maybe aren't perfect. Some people can say, oh, that one piece doesn't hold together, not a big deal. If it's going to really frustrate you, that'd be another thing to kind of keep in mind when you're looking at buying this game. Make sure a little tiny component here or there isn't going to ruin the whole experience for you. But yeah, that's my recommendation. I think it's fun. I will definitely be playing it again. I'm going to keep it around and try it out several more times. Try it out with a few different groups of people. Kind of see how the experience goes more and more. So thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews and playthroughs. And I'll see you next time.